All right. I appreciate the time this morning, Governor.
Yeah, happy to be with you.
Okay. Looking over the information that your aide sent me, the affordable housing issue that you'd sent out, we covered that pretty in detail yesterday, and I know you're going to be in Kalamazoo today as
Yep,
well. So if you don't mind, I wanted to start with the childcare section.
sure.
Okay. 1.4 billion, and it's 150,000 more families. I know this can be talked about at length, the need for early start on children and how the statistics and show how much better they do in school. Um, I guess it's just, how did we come up with these figures? I know it's not arbitrary. There's math that goes into it, but 1.4 billion and 150,000 more families, and then you got the 225 for the expansion of the Great Start Readiness. How did you come up with these numbers, and how did you get to this point, I guess, that this is what we wanted to do in this amount?
Well, let me start with this, Nick. Before the pandemic, we knew that there was a dearth of child care options for families all across the state. I hear it from families, I hear it from employers that they're worried about their employees having consistent quality care for their children as they come to work. And certainly in the pandemic, we saw all of that, magnified. We also are still seeing that a lot of families want to get back to work but can't because they simply don't have good options for their kids. School's not in session right now, and we still have not addressed the child care issue. And that's why utilizing these dollars, I'm so grateful to the Biden administration for getting the American Rescue Plan done, sending relief to states. A year ago, we thought we'd have a $3 billion deficit. We have a $3.5 billion surplus. And so what we have proposed is utilizing these crucial funds to ensure that families have good quality child care options. We know the first few years of a child's life sets them on a path for lifelong health or lifelong wealth, and not to have the kind of support that children need, I think, is doing all of us a disservice and undermining our ability to get back to work and have confidence that this generation has what they need. So $1.4 billion goes toward increasing salaries for those who go into childcare, expanding seats for Great Start Readiness. It also ensures that employers can hire working families, again, because their kids will have a good place for them to be while their parent is at work. So on all of these fronts, it is a huge boon for us as a state, and certainly something that inures to all of our benefit.
I'm not in Lansing every day covering the legislature and yourself constantly, so I'm not quite as familiar as some of the others. Is this money, is this all subject to legislative approval as well, correct? So are you going to be having to sell the Republicans on this and these numbers?
So all these billions that have come into the states across the country from Washington, D.C., they need to be appropriated by our legislature before they can get out to help the public. It was 6 months before they moved on the first tranche of dollars that came from the Trump administration. It took a long time to get those dollars deployed. We really don't have time to waste. I know the legislature is not in session right now, but I am hopeful that when they do come back to town, that they get these dollars out. And childcare is one of those places where the usual political divides maybe aren't as deep because Republicans are hearing the same things that Democrats are hearing. Families don't care about the politics of it, just get it done. And that's why we're focused on this. We think we can find common ground here.
The higher wages section, My Bigger Paychecks program, this essentially, it sounds like, exactly what they wrote. If you have somebody who's paying someone $11 an hour, this is going to supplement them to pay them $15 an hour. Is this something, then I would imagine, is there going to be an advertising campaign after this, if this gets passed, to convince these businesses, primarily small business? Is this just going to be for small businesses or any size? Amway, Meyer, would they be eligible for this as well if they're not already at that level?
Well, we've created a lot of tools for business to make use of some of these resources that have come into Michigan so that they can enhance the pay of people that they're trying to lure back into the workforce. Now, we know that pay is an important part of the equation for families. We also know childcare is a complete barrier for some families. We also know that fear of the virus is part of why some are not yet jumping back into the workforce. And that fear is real. We've got 63% of our population vaccinated. That is great compared to a lot of states, but it's not where we want to be. And that's why we've really pulled out all the stops to get more folks vaccinated, whether it's a sweepstakes that encourages you to get vaccinated, or it is being able to get a vaccine from your home, or going to a trusted community leader like your local church. These are all important aspects to us getting people back to work. But raising incomes and giving businesses the ability to draw in some resources so that they can pay a better wage and get people into their workforce is a really important part of it. And that's why we included this in our Economic Jumpstart.
And so the large corporations would be eligible as well, just to.
Sorry, Nick, Chelsea was saying we got one more. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Last one then. I appreciate it, Chelsea. I'll go straight to the education, the higher education. If you could just give me the bullet on that, the futures for frontliners. Obviously, it sounds like a bit of, we've talked about this in the past, GI Bill kind of for frontline workers, correct?
That's right. So people who stayed on the front line, whether it was stocking our grocery shelves or taking care of children, we wanted to acknowledge their important contribution and give them an opportunity to enhance their skills through a debt-free or low cost path to a certificate or a secondary degree. This is a great part of one of the things that we've been able to do in the middle of this pandemic. We've had thousands of people enroll for this. We need the legislature to get the budget done so that community colleges and universities can continue serving that important population. We got to do right by the people that put themselves on the line to keep the rest of us safe. This is an important way we can do it, and to close the skills gap and make sure that employers have qualified workers. So it is a threefer, if you will.
Governor, I always appreciate the time very much. Chelsea, thank you too.